Yo, what is going on, YouTube? This is your boy Sutton Def here from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, and this is Sudden Thoughts with Sutton Def. Happy Monday morning. The playoffs are officially here. The regular season is over. I'm here to talk about it. Hopefully, you're out there, you're staying warm. I know it's a snow day in Maryland, so hopefully you're staying warm. Hopefully, you're staying cozy. But here we are, early in the morning. Just kind of want to chop it up with you guys about what you guys are thinking about this upcoming playoff matchup for the Ravens against the Steelers. Obviously, it's going to be at home in Baltimore at the bank. It's going to be damn cold, too. Going to get into that. And then, of course, I want to talk about some of the other playoff matchups as well. But again, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be listening to this. This is your boy Sutton Def here on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Stay tuned. Yes. So like I said, my name is Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. This is another installment of Sudden Thoughts with Sutton Def. A series where I like to hop on live here, talk to you guys about what I'm thinking, what kind of comes to my brain about this Ravens team, NFL football, pretty much, to be honest with you. But today is going to be focused on NFL football, specifically, of course, our Ravens and getting ready for this matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, don't worry, Alex and I will be live tonight talking about, playoff predictions, the Steelers matchup coming up. We'll be reviewing the Browns game just on Saturday. So, don't worry. It's not just going to be this episode today, right? Alex will definitely still be going live. Let me see who's here in the live chat. If you are here in the live chat, make sure you sound off, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube. Let me know. If you are on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. It helps us out a ton. Sam says we're ready for the gauntlet. Good morning, Sam. Appreciate you for coming through. I'm ready for it too. I called for the Steelers a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to Alex on the show. I was saying, if there's one team that I would prefer to face first, it'd be Pittsburgh. Just kind of course, historically over the past 5 years, we have not been very good against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, this year we got over and then we beat them by 17 at home just a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully we can carry that same sort of energy into this wild card matchup. But yeah, I'm ready for the gauntlet as well. SG says, good morning. Real snowy and cold out here. Yeah, man, I saw it. It's bad. Really, it's bad. Spencer says, what's up, Sutton? Harbaugh lies. I'm afraid we will be without Zay for a while. Man, that's a tough one. That's probably the toughest thing about that win on Saturday, right? Zay Flowers goes down with a knee where he hurt his knee. And we do not know. There's no telling really when we're going to get him back. There's been no news coming out about him. I don't want to say that no news is good news because I don't believe that. The way Zay went down, he looked in some real pain there. And it's looking like he's probably going to miss next week or this week's playoff game. And, the thing about Zay Flowers is that he's so reliant on his shiftiness and his quickness and his cuts and things like that, especially when running routes and getting open. If he's not 100%, if that knee is not 100%, that's his best attribute. Being shifty and being able to make those quick cuts and turns, and you need your knees to be able to do that, right? So unfortunately, even when Zay Flowers does back, how much of himself is he really going to be? That's my biggest concern right now. J1213, what's going on, bro? Says, I think for Henry and Justice Hill, if he plays, I agree. Chike in the house says, morning, Sutton. Good morning. After just listening to you, let's run the table this year. Also, did you hear that the Bengals fired their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo? I didn't hear that. That must have just came out. I did see a salty Bengals fans coping very hard on Twitter, talking about, the Chiefs were so scared of the Bengals getting into the playoffs. They just decided to completely capitulate the game against the Broncos. It's like, come on, man. The Chiefs already had the 1 seed locked up. They had absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing to play for. Right? They've got a first round bye next week. And after that, you know what the Chiefs do in the playoffs, man. They come to play each and every single time. But yeah, the Bengals fired their defensive coordinator. Deservedly so. You look at the season that the Bengals had, just kind of like in a vacuum. If you look at the numbers, right? Joe Burrow leading the league in a couple of different throwing categories, right? You had, of course, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins being the most lethal wide receiver duo in the league. They have the best two, by the way. And then also you got Trey Hendrickson on the defensive side of the football leading the league in sacks, you know? So for the majority of the season, it really did seem like their biggest issue was, yeah, their offense is doing everything it can, but the defense cannot stop hold. And unfortunately, when that happens, somebody's getting fired. Somebody has to get fired. It's just as simple as that. You got too much talent on that team to be missing the playoffs. Too much talent. It's ridiculous. What's going on, Black Daniels? Mod Black Daniels in the house. Appreciate you coming through. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sam says simple formula versus the Steelers: do not turn the ball over and establish the run. Yeah, I mean, you're preaching the fire there, Sam. I was telling Alex this the other week on the show. I'm sure you guys probably heard me say this too. Or no, I don't think I told him this on the show. I might have said this on my last episode of Sudden Thoughts, but I was saying that, you know, points, of course, come at a premium in playoff games, right? Everything is more condensed. Everything is tighter. Teams are really, really trying to get you out of your game plan and get you to kind of fall into their trap and what they want you to do. And turnovers, furthermore, come at an even higher premium because of that, you know. In these games where like every little possession, every down counts so much more than I would say a regular season game, I would argue, because it's do or die. It's win or go home at this point. There is no next week, right? If the Ravens lose on Saturday, we will not see them again until August. Let that sink in, you know? So everything is just much more important. And again, turnovers, really, the point swings that come off of turnovers are going to be absolutely crucial in these playoffs, as it is in every playoffs. But this one, especially, of course, for the Ravens, not getting the first round bye this year. We're taking on the Steelers at the bank this Saturday. Yeah, turning the football over is going to be huge because you think back to that, what was it, week 15 matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, that game was still to be had until Marlon Humphrey gets that pick six. You know, we hadn't really blown that game open yet. And this is a Steelers team without George Pickens that day. You know, without George Pickens that day. So it's gonna be tough. I do agree with you, Sam. I mean, we're gonna have to turn the football over. We're gonna have to turn them over. We can't allow them to turn us over. It just is what it is, you know. Establishing the run is gonna be huge. Of course, it's gonna be an absolute. It's imperative that the Ravens do not get away from who they are in this game, you know, because we've seen that before. Last year in the championship game, obviously only 6 rushing attempts to running backs in that game. The Ravens just simply flat out did not trust Gus Edwards and Justice Hill to bring that one home. And you know, when you have a 6'4", 200-something odd pound running back named Derrick Henry, aka the King, who just finished the season with over 1,900 rushing yards and 16 rushing touchdowns, which is just crazy for, what, a 31-year-old? It's crazy. But when you have that guy walking up and down your sideline, you know, if you're John Harbaugh, that has to be like a constant reminder, just physically, right? Like, hey, we went out and got this guy for this very reason right here. Oh, we're down 3 points. Oh, we're down a touchdown, down 10. Still feed Derrick Henry. Still feed the King. This is the reason we got him. So when the going gets tough, we don't have to kind of second guess ourselves on whether or not we have a good enough running back, whether our weapons are good enough to continue feeding them the ball and trying to get them to bring this game home for it. You know, let me see here what y'all is saying. Let me see what y'all is saying here. Bengals fans are the goats of cope. Nobody does it better. I agree with you there, Spencer. I agree with you there. Engineering Design says he wanted the Chargers instead. I can understand this because the Chargers aren't quite as familiar with the Ravens as the Steelers are, which is ironic because the Chargers coach is literally the blood brother of the Ravens head coach. It would have been another Harbaugh Bowl. Another story for another day. But I can understand what you mean by that, Engineering Designs. If you're talking about what is the net easier matchup for the Ravens, I would say Chargers. I would say the Chargers would be a little bit easier. You know, yeah, the Steelers are struggling. They seem to be in a free fall right now, 4-game losing streak, One of those games came to us. So it really does seem like we have the upper hand in this one against the Steelers. But again, it's a divisional matchup. It's going to be close. It's going to be a hard fought, gritty, tough one. Of course, just like for the Ravens, it's win or go home. It's the same for the Steelers, man. It's the exact same thing for the Steelers. And they're bringing their hard hat to this game. And Mike Tomlin, I guarantee you, all week long in practice, guess what he's going to be preaching? He's going to be preaching about the want to, right? He's going to be preaching about the grit, and how you're going to have to get this one out of the mud. You're going to have to walk into their trap and try to take over their trap. And knock on wood, that doesn't happen, right? But that's what's going to be. He's going to be preaching willpower all week long. And let me tell you why. Let me see. The Chef 87 actually mentions it here. Says, good morning, Rain Gang. Good morning, Chef. Appreciate you for coming through. Said, looking forward to freezing my ass off for the second consecutive Saturday in a row in hopes of placing belts to ass on the Steelers. Yes. So let's talk about it. And before, after this, we can get into some of the other playoff matchups as well. I think it's going to be a super wild card weekend. I really do. But let's talk about the weather. So as it stands right now, the weather is supposed to be about 20 degrees by the time kickoff. So we play at 8 o'clock on Saturday in Baltimore. It's supposed to be around 20 degrees around that time. And there's chances of snow. So 20 degrees and snowing. And of course, it's probably going to be windy too. So you put all those things together. What do you get? You get a game plan from both teams that's going to heavily involve running the football, right? Now, lucky for us, we do have the upper hand. We do have the advantage when it comes to running the football. Hell, we're the best running football team in the league. I've been for a few years now, But one big thing that I'm really, really looking at is going to be this. How much are this Steelers team, are these Steelers defenders, especially guys on the second level, the DBs, guys like that? How much are they really, really going to want to keep tackling Derrick Henry in that cold? Because I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys have ever played football before in the cold, like tackle football. It's hard. Okay, it is damn hard to do. It is hard to tackle somebody when your limbs are literally freezing up, when your extremities feel tighter and that much more heavier, and you have less dexterity over them. It's hard to tackle somebody. So what I expect from Todd Monken in this one is literally to hand the ball to Derrick Henry 25 to 30 times. Those Steelers defenders tackle him over and over and over again until they don't want to anymore. It's going to be like one of those break your spirit, break your will type of game plan, Todd Monken, I think. And of course, I still think we're going to see Lamar Jackson running the football as well. We're still going to see him throw it around a little bit. Mark Andrews, I expect him to have himself a game. Again, Zay Flowers is probably not going to be able to go. So Rashad Bateman, I would assume, is going to draw the assignment from Joey Porter Jr. in this one, which will be a very, very interesting matchup. I think Rashad Bateman has been growing his confidence to the point where he could take on a matchup like that and, do well. He can do well. But I think primarily, it's going to be running the football and make the Steelers tackle Derrick Henry time and time again. That's the game plan. That's the recipe. This Saturday at 8 p.m. The bet. Derrick Henry gets the ball 25, 30 times. And eventually, maybe in that second half, when we keep feeding him, right? Eventually, that defense is going to get worn down. Eventually, Derrick Henry's going to break into that secondary one too many times. He's going to break into that second level one too many times. And those DBs, they're not going to have the will to tackle him. So dare I say, I think we're going to get a big Derrick Henry run in this one, like one of those long 40, 50-yard runs. That's probably my early bold prediction for the game. I do have the Ravens winning this one. That's like my early prediction, not score prediction. That's my early kind of matchup prediction. I see them winning this one at home against the reeling Steelers. But I think it's going to be a big Derrick Henry game. Probably more so than any other game in the playoffs. Maybe. Hopefully not. I mean, I want to see Derrick Henry. This is the reason. You know what? It's crazy. I was watching football yesterday, right? And I'm looking around the league at all these different teams whose seasons literally ended yesterday. There's a lot of fans from a lot of teams who have no more football to watch, especially when it comes to their team. Of course, they're going to watch someone like. There's a lot of teams whose season is over. The season is over right now. But for the Ravens, it really feels like the season is just beginning. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way as me about that. Let me know if you do down below in the chat. I would love to know if we kind of share the same sentiment in that. It feels like the Ravens season is just starting. And it kind of made me remember back to, again, after the AFC Championship loss last season, Alex and I, we hopped on the podcast that Monday following, and we said, it really, like, the regular season really isn't going to feel that important next year, meaning this season right here that we're currently in. It's not going to feel as important. And of course, as the offseason went by and, through everything with the draft and free agency and preseason training, all that stuff, and then we actually get into the season again, of course, we're really invested again, and we care about this team to no end. But, in the back of our heads, I think all of us as Ravens fans knew, okay, we're probably going to make the playoffs again. And that's really where the season starts, because the team seems to be kind of night and day when it comes to regular season performance and playoff performances. So now the going is getting tough, right? The iron is getting hot, and it's time to go to work. It's time to go to work. Like I said, Mike Tomlin, he's going to be preaching willpower and want to all week, because guess what? He knows what's coming. He knows that we're going to put the ball in Derrick Henry's belly 25 to 30 times and tell him to bring us home. He knows that. So it's going to be about who's bringing their lunch pail, who's bringing their hard hat. And like Roquan Smith said, you got to check your manhood, man. It's time. It's playoff time, man. The season is just beginning for the Ravens. Quincy in the house says, hey, Sutton, what's going on, Quincy? Taquan is also in the house. Good morning, Sutton. Hope you have a great week this week. Yes, sir, I will. And I hope you do as well. Also giving a good morning shout out to the Rain Gang as well. We got my guy Dre in here. What's going on, Dre? Says, what's up, Purple Rain Gang? Appreciate you for coming through, Dre. Hope you're doing well. Hope you guys are staying warm again. Hope you guys are staying cozy. I know it's a snowstorm out there. Probably hasn't stopped snowing, if I had to imagine. It's going to keep coming down for probably a couple more hours. Let me see. Just hope they don't forget to run like time. That's what I'm saying. No fucks given. Says it here. I don't think that you just can't. If the Ravens somehow lose a playoff game, right, and gets their season ended, and Derrick Henry did not get at least 20 carries, and we didn't get blown out, like we didn't just get the doors blown off of us from get-go, I think that I don't want to say that like Harbaugh's job is not safe. I think it's, I think it Harbaugh, his team does just enough to not warrant getting rid of him, But I do think that, and they're not going to get rid of Todd Monken. They're not going to get rid of Todd Monken. He may get some head coaching calls this offseason. We'll see. But I think that the Ravens will try to hold on to Todd Monken for dear life, because this offense has been way better under him than it was under Roman. So, but somebody would have to answer for that. If the Ravens came out and they just looked flat, right? If the Ravens came out and they weren't running the football, they weren't very intentional about running the football and giving the ball to Derrick Henry, like literally the only reason why they brought him in was to run the football down the stretch of these games, somebody would have to answer for that. Somebody. Thea Pennell says, here, is this Super Bowl or goodbye for John Harbaugh? Again, man, I just don't think that, Steve Bisciotti, the Ravens owner, is looking at that. Ever since the team has had Lamar Jackson in the fold, he's really, really made John Harbaugh look like a much better coach than he is. And I don't think that John Harbaugh is a bad coach. I think that John Harbaugh is actually a very good coach. Just like I also think Mike Tomlin is a good coach. You ask Steelers fans around the world right now, because you do got Steelers fans all over. If you ask them, a lot of them are calling for Mike Tomlin's job, and it's not necessarily because he's a bad coach, but sometimes the relationship just gets stale, and that might be what is happening. If we do see like a similar playoff performance this season, like our guys don't come out, they don't look ready, our play calling isn't the greatest, You see John Harbaugh with just kind of like the dumbfounded face on the sideline. You guys know which face I'm talking about. Me and Alex talk about it all the time on the show. If that happens, and should Steve Bisciotti like actually wake up and be like, you know what? Maybe it's time for just like a little change of pace at head coach, right? And see how that's the culture, see if that is what gets us over the hump. Because we're trying everything right now. We're trying everything. I mean, of course, we got the Lamar Jackson, we got a new offensive coordinator. We didn't run the ball last year in the AFC Championship game. So we went out, we got one of the best running backs in the league. Like, what is it going to take next? What's the next step? Do we pursue Tyreek Hill this offseason? He said he's done with the Dolphins. I mean, do we really have to go that far to get over the hump? I don't think we should. Let me see. Team Ramey says, I think if they go into the playoffs not utilizing Henry and they lose, it is over for Harbaugh. That would be, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it, says Black Dames, and I'm kind of right there with him on that one. I'll believe it when I see it. I just don't think that. I think John Paul's job is just too good right now. It's just too good right now, and everything that he's kind of built with this Lamar Jackson, era of the team. I think Steve Bisciotti finds a lot of value in that, and the fact that the shortcomings of the Ravens have not literally all been on John Harbaugh. We can't sit here and act like, last year in the AFC Championship game, Zay Flowers didn't fumble at the 1 yard line, which would have tied the game, right? We can't act like Lamar Jackson threw an ill-advised, or he didn't throw an ill-advised pass, in the triple coverage, which some people could have said it was pass interference. They didn't call that. I say likely got knocked down on that play, but there were 3 guys in the vicinity, and it was just like, you know what? Or that wasn't the best decision. And Lamar Jackson, I've said this before, he's like a Madden player personified. Lamar Jackson is, right? And when I say that, what I mean by that is, he's always looking for the big play. Like when you're playing Madden, you're just kind of playing against the computer, or whether you're playing online, let's say like, it's 3rd and short or 2nd and short or something like that. You might just go deep. If you're down 7 points, you might say, you know what? Why would I run the ball? That's boring. Let me go down the field and see if I can get a big chunk play. And Lamar Jackson, he does try to make his comeback in chunks, and that's what he does. That's what he did in the AFC Championship game. It did not end up working out. So here we are. In the following year, hopefully we can be a little bit more balanced. I'm hoping Lamar Jackson can be a little bit more patient. You know what I'm saying? Take what the defense is giving to you in front of you, and we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. What else you guys saying? Thea Pennell says, how is Steven still taking 100% of the snaps? What kind of coach is this? Yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting playoffs, because the way it's right now, you know what? Let's just go ahead and bring up the bracket on screen so we can all kind of look at this together. The way it's looking right now, we're taking a look at this, right? Let me make sure we can all see. All right, the full bracket. Okay. So, of course, the Chiefs get the bye. The Ravens are taking on the Steelers, which it'll be funny because the Bills and the Broncos game is actually going to be on Sunday, that following day. So, it's looking like now is we're going to have to either play Denver or Buffalo. Both of those teams have wide receivers that I feel like will try to pick on Brandon Stevens. And so do the Steelers, by the way. Now, keep in mind, the Ravens do not travel their quarterbacks, right? So you're not going to see Marlon Humphrey glued to George Pickens all game. You're not going to see Nate Wiggins glued to George Pickens all game. Neither will you with Ravens. But what I can guarantee you is that the Steelers and George Pickens, the Bills and Keon Coleman, the Broncos and Cortland Sutton, they will find ways to get matched up against Brandon Stevens when they need one, just like the Browns did the other night. They found Brandon Stevens, went to him 6 straight times, and it worked like a charm. And we've been seeing that all season long, unfortunately. Brandon Stevens, he's been struggling very, very badly. He makes plays in certain spots, yes, but he's nowhere near as consistent as he was last year. And he's been kind of sort of like a liability in that secondary, for the greater part of the year. So all I can say is that this pass rush is really going to have to step up Kyle Van Noy, of course, he's having the best season of his career right now. Hopefully, he takes some of that some of that juice into the playoffs. Adafe Owe just graced 10 sacks, right? So hopefully he brings some of that confidence into the playoffs as well. Now, be mad at BK, Travis Jones, guys like that. We really need to be in the quarterback's lap, in the quarterback's blind side, in his face, throwing off his, knock him off the spot, because if you let a guy drop back and just tear down Brandon Stevens and he's one-on-one with pretty much anybody, I'd say a good 6 to 7 times out of 10, which is not good, that receiver probably going to come down with the catch, come down with a pass interference call, something like that. And those are going to be backbreakers in these playoffs. Just a fair warning. So hopefully Brandon Stevens can kind of step up and do his thing and kind of get back to the old Brandon Stevens that we were used to seeing last season that impressed us so much. Hopefully. Let me see. What else you guys are saying in here? Thank y'all so much for coming. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're watching on X, hello. You see we got about 17 people watching on X right now. Hello, good morning to every one of you. Maybe pop over to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. That way you can go ahead and give us a sub. You can also like the video as well. And again, we will be later tonight around 6:30 Eastern time, me and Alex, to talk about the Steelers matchup more in depth, to talk about the Browns matchup from last Saturday. We'll talk about that. And of course, we're going to go through this playoff bracket, just kind of like how I'm doing now. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But let me look at what else you guys are saying here. SG says, I'm worried about Falele and Makari. Interestingly enough, Patrick Makari, he did not play as much in the Browns game as I expected him to. They actually tried out Andrew Voorhees out there, and he held his own. He held his own, man. I'm just saying. Me personally, I'm an advocate for getting Andrew Voorhees out there and getting him as our long-term left guard. Just like how we trusted Roger Rosengarten at right tackle, and now look at that. He's been playing really well. I think Andrew Voorhees needs to be next. Young guy, you know what I'm saying? Redshirted for us last year. He's got experience, tons of college experience. He's one of the strongest guys on the team, actually. So, you know what? I'm there. As for Falele, Falele is just one of those guys that Ravens fans, you just got to accept. John Harbaugh is not going to capitulate the Falele agenda. He's not. He literally said it last week when he was selected as a Pro Bowl alternate, Falele, that is. That basically, in so many words, like, hey, I told you so. People told me to bench Falele, but now look, it's a Pro Bowl selection. And then you go out there on Saturday, and you see Falele still missing blocks, still not fast enough to execute some of these plays, some of these pulls that the crack plays that the Ravens want to run. And it's just like, bro, come on now. So yeah, that hopefully Falele, again, I'm hoping I'm wrong about Falele. I'm hoping I'm wrong about Makari. If that is the unit that we choose to trot out there, Stanley, Makari, Linderbaum, Falele, and Rosengarten, I'm hoping those boys can show up and they show up to play really, really well. But adjustments need to be made. I also do think that adjustments should be made, right? Do not die by that sword, John Harbaugh, because if you do, here's the thing. If the Ravens were to lose a playoff game because their O-line is getting destroyed, specifically number 77, getting worked on, then that is when you kind of really have to turn to John Harbaugh. Like, okay, no, this was on you. This was your decision, right? You talked about this literally at length in the press conference last week, saying how much trust and how much belief and faith you got in this guy, and how much good football he's got ahead of him in his years. All right, let's see. Because if he doesn't perform, if that man does not perform, which I hope he does, again, as a Ravens fan, I hope he does. But if he does not, that falls solely on John Harbaugh. Solely on John Harbaugh. So Voorhees is terrible. I didn't see that. I didn't see Voorhees being terrible. Fuck, what is his name? He sounds like a starter. No, I didn't see him being terrible. I'd have to go back and watch more of the All 22, But the reps that I saw, he was actually holding his own. He didn't play bad. I think that he's a guy who's got a lot of good football in front of him. There were about two reps that I saw where he didn't play very well. But then again, to be quite honest with you, to be quite frank with you, nobody on the offensive line played very well against the Browns. Yeah. So let's move along here. Let's talk about some other matchups here before we get out of here. Like I said, I don't want to be in you guys' hair too long today. I know it's a snow day. I know a lot of you guys in the house and whatnot. And shout out to y'all. Make sure you stay make sure you stay cozy. Make sure you stay warm for sure. Make sure you stay warm. Let me see. Taquan's here. He wasn't terrible. He had 2 to 3 bad reps. Yeah, that's the same thing I saw. But then started moving people around. He sprung Derrick Henry's second down run. Him and Ronnie Stanley had some great blocks on that second run. I mean, he ran right in between the two of them. The block they were setting, and the two guys that they were blocking had zero chance. And that was why Derrick Henry was able to get to that second level and score that touchdown ultimately. I can watch that play too. That was beautiful to watch. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other matchups, some things that are catching my eye here, some things that are interesting. Starting on the AFC side, of course, again, Chiefs get the bye. They are the scariest team right now. They're the most quiet, scariest team in this playoffs, of course, and we all know why. They're going for the three-peat, right? Mahomes is trying to get his 4th ring, which is absolutely insane. 4 rings in 7, 8 years? That would be insane. 4 rings in 8 years, like literally half the time you've been in the league, you've won the Super Bowl. That's crazy. That's crazy. They look scary. They look scary. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't say that to say that I'm scared of them. I want the gauntlet. I want back. That week 1 loss still leaves a bad taste. Of course, the AFC Championship loss from last year leaves an even worse taste. So I want to get back on that one, but I do acknowledge that they are they're the best team. They're the most team right now to probably go out and try to win it all. Just saying. But going on to the Texans versus the Chargers, that is going to be the very first playoff game that we get for this season. They play on Saturday at 4:30. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. This game come down to who really wants it more. These two teams here seem to be kind of like, you can kind of say, the weakest link on the AFC side in this playoff. Some people might argue the Steelers or the Broncos, but the Texans, man, they really, especially after that Christmas game we played, and I was there, they did not look very good at all. CJ Stroud did not look good at all. I mean, they've kind of been like stumbling around this season. The Texans have, the Chargers a little bit too. So this game is going to come down to who really, really wants it more. I think that in this one, I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I do think that the Chargers they're going to be able to establish a running game with J.K. Dobbins in this one, and you're going to see a lot of play action. Justin Herbert, Lad McConkey, things like that. And I think the Texans just don't keep up. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it might be close towards the end, but give me the Chargers in this one, man. Give me the Chargers, man. I think CJ Stroud is a sophomore slump. He's regressed a little bit to me, and the Chargers are going to be at home. They're going to be at SoFi. Give me the Chargers in the close one. Ravens Steelers, of course. I am picking the Ravens at home. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting game. Very interesting game. And oh yeah, by the way, the Texans are going to be at home. That's my bad. Texans are going to be at home. But I still got the Chargers. Bill Broncos. This is going to be a very, very interesting game. And if I'm a Bills fan, I'm actually a little bit cautious, a little bit worried about this one, because the Broncos look damn good. Of course, what they did to the Chiefs yesterday, they were supposed to do that. The Chiefs are playing like 10 and 13 guys, but the Broncos have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive lines in the league. The connection between Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton is not spoken about enough. Those guys have each other's number, and in a good way, a very, very good way for them. Bo Nix also a threat running the football as well. So don't be surprised if the Broncos go out there and give the Bills a little bit of taste of their own medicine in week 1 of playoffs in the wild card round. It's going to be a very good game. I'm probably going to take the Bills to squeak by at the end. I do think that the Bills, They got a little bit more juice when it comes to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, of course, having a phenomenal season. Not talking about this whole MVP thing right now. That's another story for another video. But the Bills look really good this year. The Bills look really good this year. They haven't beaten a whole lot of playoff teams. I've only beat the two, the Chiefs and the Lions. But I think in this one, I think they come to play. I think this is another going to be a very tight game as well. Another tight game. But give me the Bills. But don't be surprised. Do not be surprised if the Broncos are able to pull it out somewhere. SG says it would be something if the Broncos beat the Bills. Oh yeah, man. It would be, oh my goodness. I don't know. That would make me very happy, because I would get to go online and talk my shit about, the Bills and Josh Allen and all that. And it's been a lot of fun doing that these past couple of weeks, especially when the MVP talk starts to heat up between him and Lamar. But the Ravens got to take care of business first. Ravens got to take care of business. Let's go over to the NFC side. Right, Lions by after thrashing the Vikings last night in that game for first seed. So you got the Rams taking on the Vikings, which is going to be, I think that, honestly, dare I say, and I feel like Alex is going to agree with me when we talk about this later on the show, I think that the Rams could be the dark horse of the NFC. I really do think that they could. Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp on that defense, Jared Verse and those boys. I'm telling you, man, they could make some noise, and they could potentially knock off this Vikings team. I'm telling you. And don't be surprised. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take the Rams to win that game. I'm going to take the Rams to win that one. I could see Sam Darnold putting up a stinker in that one, and Matthew Stafford coming to play, and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and those boys coming to play. I could see it. The Rams in that one. The most interesting matchup of the week in the NFC is that one on the bottom, the Eagles versus the Packers. The Packers probably did not want to see the Eagles in round one, but here they are nonetheless. And the Eagles, they'll be getting Jalen Hurts back, of course. And I don't want to say that the Eagles are going to go all the way, because I don't really think that they will. I think it's either going to be the Lions or the Rams. But I do think that the Eagles beat the Packers in this one. The D-line is going to prove to be a little bit too much for the Packers O-line in this one. I think Jordan Love is constantly under duress. Just me. That's just me. So give me the Eagles. And then Bucks Commanders. This one is kind of near and dear to my heart, right? Commanders they're kind of like my second. And like they have not been, in the playoffs or around the playoffs in serious contention in a while, right? I think the last playoff game they played was against the Bucks. Funny enough, a couple of years ago when they had Taylor Heineke starting, and this is when Tom Brady was still with the Bucks. So again, another interesting game. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and those boys, they have really impressed me. Baker Mayfield has impressed me. Nobody really talks about how Baker Mayfield, who was, of course, a former number 1 overall pick, a lot of people thought was bust a little while. But he's really come into his own with his Tampa Bay team. That is his city, right? And they love him. He loves him. He's a baller. He balled out yesterday, right? Started off slow, but came back on towards the end there. Those Commanders, man. Jaden Daniels, those Commanders. I know this is going to be a very tough game. This might be like an overtime type game, being honest with you. I'm probably going to go with the Commanders in this one. I'm going to go with the Commanders to sneak out. It's going to be a very hard fought, gritty matchup. And towards the end, I think Jaden Daniels and that Commander team, they make just one more play than the Bucks do, and they take one. They steal that one on the road. It's going to be very, very interesting, though, to see. I cannot wait. That's going to be probably one of my most anticipated matchups of the Bucks Commanders game. So, and then Rams are a team this year you don't want to see the NFC side. That's what I'm saying. They might be the dark horse, SG. They might be the dark horse. Just saying. And when that Rams team gets hot, they can get dangerous, real dangerous. So that is just kind of going to be my preview of the reaction to the 2024-2025 NFL playoff picture. Again, like I said, don't want to hold you guys too long here. I've already been going for 40 minutes and didn't even realize I was going that long. But yeah. I want to hop on here and kind of give you guys my thoughts early on this Monday morning. It's snowy, wintry Monday morning again. Hopefully you're staying warm, staying cozy, and safe. Because definitely don't be out there doing too much in those weather conditions, guys. It's not for the weak out there. It's not the weak. It's no. Don't be driving around if you don't have to. Just saying. Love you guys, and I will catch you guys later on the live edition of the Purple Rain podcast with me and Simply AS10 around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Until later, catch you guys in the next one. Stay positive, test negative, and always, 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 ever forget to call God. Peace.